Hello everyone, today I'm going to be replacing my front pads and discs on my BMW F30. My choice is going to be EBC's discs and Red Stuff ceramic brake pads. Those who are wondering how much would the BMW service or dealership would charge you for this set of discs and pads replacements, I'm just going on the website. Again, going down, and set of front brake pads and discs service would cost you £568. It's quite a lot of money. When you go on one of the car trader sites, you can actually find hundreds of available cars for that price, even under that price. They may not be your ideal car, but at the end of the day, they're still cars under £500 and in working condition. Before starting with the discs and pads replacement, I'm taking the opportunity to inspect my tyre for a few minutes just to see any dents or kind of worn out parts or any structural damage on that, and giving a very quick wash. And coming back to my car, first thing you need to do is to twist those 3 bolts to access to your brake fluid reservoir and open the cap on that. Leave it open until you finish with the work. I have a BMW 320 diesel with an M Sport package, but my caliper is an ordinary floating caliper or Arte caliper, which is held by 2 18mm bolts. With the help of a flathead screwdriver, I'm taking off the brake pad wear sensor lead off the pad, and my breaker bar, not the torque wrench, breaker bar is placed on the top 18mm bolt, and the second 18mm bolt is just down below. We need to start with those 2 to make some movement on them, just to make sure that they are actually coming off. I'm trying to give you the best possible view during my workout. I'm sure there are going to be some scenes that are kind of missing or cut short, but I'm going to try my best to give you the correct angles. BMW recommends all screws and bolts on the brake system to be replaced. However, I tried to order 2 sets of 18mm bolts for front calipers, but they were wrong size, so I think they were slightly smaller for the rear caliper. So after a quick inspection on the existing bolts, as you can see, I decided to use them as they were in good condition. And then you need an 8mm Allen key to unscrew the slider pins that allows your caliper to move when you press brake pedal. So those 2 also need to be unscrewed and replaced if possible. Always better late than never. Having said that, taking off the caliper retaining spring and continuing with the slider pin disassembly. The slider pins are going through a plastic sleeve, soft plastic sleeve, which I'm going to replace them all in this video. I don't think they were ever replaced during any of the service on the front brake system before, so I'm not going to use them. I already have a new set of slider pins along with their plastic sleeves. Gentle pull on the caliper is going to release it from the bracket, and then as you can see my pads are actually halfway through, still like 50% overall remaining on them, but unfortunately I haven't been happy with them at all for being too dusty, making my alloys so dirty. So it's quite a thickness both on the pads and the discs. Unfortunately I haven't been happy with BMW's OEM products, so I decided to replace them. My choice particularly was on the pad. You can always go for a cheaper brake disc if you want a budget service on your car. You can easily cut your price another 40-50% by doing that, but I didn't want to compromise on the price, especially on the brake pads, so hoping to have a good dust free, at least at a minimum level when I'm driving. Next up we are taking off the brake disc retaining screw using the 6mm Allen key. And with the help of my small hammer, gentle tap again releases the brake disc. So lots of dust and rust. I was very surprised to see this much dust over the past few years. It's just unbelievable. I just can't believe that an OEM product would be this bad quality or would give you this much unwanted dirt, dust and rust. Using my soft wire brush with my drill, trying to do as much cleaning as possible all around it. And a can of brake cleaner comes in handy in a situation like this. And you need to remember, you don't get this much cleaning when you take your car to a dealer or local mechanic. They just take off the disc and pads and put the new ones on, and they believe you're good to go. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So I'm trying to pay as much attention as possible on the cleaning. On top of that, I'm also going to spray paint my calipers just to give them a shiny gloss black look like I used to do. For now, it's time to push the piston back using my special tool. There are alternatives, but because I had this tool, I'm going to be using it. This is the whole reason that we left the brake fluid reservoir lid open. So as you're pushing it, the fluid is going to raise. Without doing that, you wouldn't be able to push the piston back, or at least you would struggle and possibly damage your brake lines. While I'm cleaning the caliper, I'm trying to hold it as gentle as possible, not to damage the brake line. Try not to twist it. And then once the cleaning is done, this is again optional. I prefer my calipers and certain parts of my brake system to look nice and clean even after thousands of miles. So I do some quick drying spray paint on the visible areas from the outside. Although the spray paint wouldn't stick that well on the cast iron calipers, I repeat this process once every year, so it turns into a kind of nice looking caliper after a few times of coating. Brake discs are labelled quite visibly on the outside. I've been happy with EBC's products so far, and that's the reason I chose one of those high performance brake discs and ceramic pads. But before placing it there, you need to do some anti-seize on the contact points for future. So using my painting skills here, taking my time, doing a brilliant job as much as I can, because it's my car and no one else is going to look after my car better than I do. I'm using a medium strength thread locker on the retaining screw. Just a little drop is going to do the job. Because our cars vibrate constantly while we're driving them, this is a needed process really. In the video on the left bottom corner is my rear brake discs and pads. Again, EBC's red stuff brake pads. As you can see, it's very clean. And that's the reason I continued with EBC's products. And these are the tightening specifications for all F-Series on your brake system. You can pause the video and have a look, examine those numbers. They are really important. EBC's new generation brake discs come pre-coated against dust and rust. They're quite resistant, but again, optionally, I prefer to paint the visible sides with gloss black, which looks much better, I think. And then plastic sleeves for slider pins also is being replaced. Some gentle push is going to do the job. They were quite corroded inside, lots of residues I found, and the whole set, as you can see in the picture, is less than £10, so I thought I should replace them all. Continuing with more cleaning and gloss black spray paint on certain parts. And the caliper bracket was also one of those parts that released a lot of dust. As you can see on the cardboard, it's fully covered with dust and dirt, and I'm hoping that I'm not going to have this much particles or brake dust with the EBC's products. 110 Newton meter for the 18mm caliper bolts. You'll need to use a torque wrench for it. Make sure you have the precise measurements as much as possible. There's a reason for it. The BMW recommends certain tightening specifications for all screws and bolts. My existing brake pad wear sensor was in good condition, but then again, being very cheap, it's a good idea to replace it as well. It's one of the easiest parts. You just follow the old sensor lead and then take the old one off and then put the new one into place. There's a little box there along with the ABS sensor housing. You just take off the wear sensor. There's a little tap on the side. You might need to squeeze it or kind of use a flathead screwdriver again just to take it off the place. And when you place the new one in, you should hear a very gentle click which tells you that it's in place. Over the years, I've seen quite a lot of disc replacement videos along with pad replacement videos, but every single one of them were having a kind of missing parts and areas that I wanted to see, so I tried to put everything in one video and give you as much information as possible. So at the end of the day, I'm not teaching anyone how to replace the brake systems. I'm just sharing my experience and hoping that you would benefit from it. And I'm going to be using Brembo's Be Quiet lubricant for contact points. The red points Brembo recommends you to lubricate, but BMW also recommends the slider pins not to be lubricated because they advise you to replace them. So if you're using the old slider pins, you can also lubricate them. This is one of the best quality products in the market. So again, an overall price comparing to BMW's service charge is like less than half price. I didn't give out the entire cost on this service because prices may vary depending on your country, but I can assure you that having this service done by yourself is going to cost you less than half price. Gently lubricated contact points are going to make you quite satisfied in the future by preventing the squeaks and all sorts of rattling noise while you're driving your car. Again, this is something that you wouldn't get at a high quality labor in any sort of mechanic. They do their best maybe, but again, it's not to my standards, to be fair. So trying to pick all the best available products in the market, aftermarket, while still saving a lot of money on my car. Once you finish with lubricating, you again gently slide the caliper housing and then make sure that all the parts are in place by giving it a quick shake and then continue with the slider pins. I'm not going to use a thread locker on these because pink parts, as you can see on the threads, because they are brand new, they come pre-coated with the thread lockers, and all I'm doing is sliding them into their sleeves and then torquing them up to 28 Newton meters. Once it's done, I'm going to place the retaining spring on the caliper, making sure that it sits in the right place, and then job is pretty much done. I'm also putting some anti-seize grease on the outside of the brake rotor, the contact point with the tire. This is going to help you next time when you take off your tire. And then specs are again for all F-Series 105 foot-pound or 142 Newton meters. And all you need to do is apply the same process on the other side. Once you're done, make sure you close the brake fluid reservoir and then pump your brake pedal 5-6 times at least until it feels firm. Moving on to service reset. As you can see, 21,000 miles remaining on my existing discs and pads, but I gave you the reason why I'm replacing them. Pressing the button under your fuel gauge on the cluster is going to allow you to move between the service reset options. Once you find the correct service, you keep pressing it and then it's going to reset the service. Once that's done, you're going to see the new mileage and your new service. And moving on to the iDrive service history entry, I have a detailed video about it. You can go on my channel to see how it's done in detail. Because I also carried out some vehicle check under my car and all around the wheel bearings and certain visible parts, I'm also adding that service, writing that service entry onto my car as well. Once you write the new service history to your car, the iDrive screen is going to restart and then show your new service listed at the top. I have to say the entire work took me about 3.5 hours, including the videos and taking it very slowly, just to do a better job on my car. So that's why I left the iDrive service history entry to the following morning. But it was absolutely worth doing that. And after taking around 20 miles of test drive, as you can see, nice clean surface, brake pads have released their braking coating, and then on both sides there are even and good surface coverage on the pads, which indicates a good job on this brake service. You can also see my excessive spray paint and then first time driving dust spat all over my alloys, but they are temporary, so once you drive it for a few hundred miles, they are going to be fine. Since I'm a daily driver, I don't need a bedding in process, but I'm going to leave you the EBC's guidance on that at the end of the video. Hope you find this work useful, and I hope to see you in the next video.